All right, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, February the 20th, and we have a special meeting today where we will be swearing in the newest member of the Wake County Board of Education, representing District 4, Ms. Toshiba Rice. All right, so to begin our formal ceremony, I'd ask everyone who's able to rise and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can't hear you.
For Judge Parker's, can you have a second seat if he needs it?
All right. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. We do have an overflow crowd today, but we are so excited to see all of these friends and family members and community members who've come out to support our newest member of the Board of Education. I would love to be able to recognize everybody in the crowd. I know I'm going to fail and miss someone, but it will be, there are some folks that I do want to make sure are recognized here. We have a statewide elected official, the first African American female to serve on North Carolina's Council of State, our former chair of the Wake County Commission, Ms. Jessica Holmes. And she knows I could have gone on and on with that introduction, too. We have our former board member, who is the newest member of the Wake County County Commission, Ms. Tara Waters. We have one of Wake County's state senators, Senator Lisa Grafstein. I do see we have a former Water and Soil Conservation District Supervisor down here, Nirvana Crew, trying to hide. And then, let's see, we have, of course, the dean of our delegation. Make no mistake, everyone in the room should know, our senior senator, State Senator Daniel T. Blue, Jr., former Speaker of the North Carolina House as well. Coming back over on the other side, we have our wonderful chair of our Wake County Commission, Commissioner Shanika Thomas. And she is joined by other members of our county commission, Commissioner Don Mile, and Vice Chair Susan Evans. Former school board member as well, y'all. We've got a record to keep up here. All right, it's been hard to see everybody around. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. Do we have any other elected officials out there? Oh, and we have our wonderful Wake County Register of Deeds, Miss Tammy Bruner. Proud parent of a recent WCPSS graduate. And of course, walking in right now, we have to recognize Commissioner Cheryl Stallings. Cheryl Stallings, everyone. I don't know that I've seen this many elected officials amassed in one place since the president came to town. So I am not going to delay any longer. At this point, what I would like to do is I would like to welcome up, if not the most important person here, the second most important person here, our wonderful Wake County District Court Judge, Judge Ashley Parker. Judge Parker, for those of you who do not know, is one of our wonderful district court judges. I'm going to brag on her because she is also a law school classmate of mine. Judge Parker, a wonderful advocate in the community with Kiwanis, with the local bar association, president or vice president, maybe both, of our law school alum association. Is that right?
Yes, I know, yeah.
President, yeah. You can tell who needs to get their check in. Judge Parker, thank you so much. We really just love that you take the time out of your day to be part of our ceremony and to help us celebrate our new member coming in from District 4.
Thank you so much.
He
Yes.
does seem to be our standing judge for appointments as well.
If you need a swearing in, call me. No, No, thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Taylor, and to the rest of the board. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Again, I feel like I almost live here, but I love it here. I love the opportunity to swear in new members and members who are reelected. And it is a deep pleasure and honor of mine to swear in my good sister, Toshiba Rice. I'm going to give away a secret because we like to manifest things. We truly believe that what God has for us, He has for us, but we have to speak those things into existence. And when I was swearing in Commissioner Waters, someone came up to me and said, Ashley, I'm thinking about pursuing this. I pray that this happens. If it does happen, will you swear me in? And I immediately put this date in my calendar, ready to go. So when she texted me and said, Ashley, I got it, I said, congratulations, it was already on my calendar. So this has been manifested for you. We know that you would do amazing work. As y'all see, I'm on mommy duty, which is job number 1. But it's for these babies right here. That's what it's for. It's for all of our babies. It's for all of the future. And so I'm excited to have one more person join you all to continue the wonderful work of this board for our children. So, Ms. Rice, if you will please come with your son. This is going to be right here. And this is where your dad is at. All right. If you will please place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. And anyone who will take photos, videos, feel free. I say this is her wedding day. You only get one first one, so we're excited for this. All right, if you will please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Toshiba Rice,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and
of
laws
the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and
of
laws
the State of North Carolina,
of the State of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
my duties as a member
my duties as a member
of the Wake County Board of Education.
of the Wake County Board of Education.
Congratulations and welcome to the Wake County Board of Education.
I appreciate you. I love you. You want me to take my favorite book?
Welcome, Miss Rice. The floor is yours if you would like to make any opening comment. Otherwise, I will direct people toward our wonderful reception after.
All right, I will make it very quick. Nicholas, you want to take this? Because I can keep it because it's been my shield that got me here. All right. Thank you all so very much for attending today. I am overjoyed with the love in the room. You let me know, and I'm going to get to this because I can talk too long. Looking at all of you here today and your busy schedules, I am beyond elated. You're talking about love in demonstration. It is amazing. So let me say this really quick. Dear Chair Haggerty, Vice Chair Johnson Hostler, fellow board members, Superintendent Taylor, my amazing elected officials, esteemed educators, dedicated parents, and beloved students, family, and community. I stand before you today with profound gratitude and a steadfast commitment to the noble mission of the Wake County Public School System. As the newly sworn-in representative for the Wake District 4, I am deeply honored to embark on this journey alongside each and every one of you. Throughout my tenure as a passionate advocate for student achievement, attendance, equity, family engagement, and teacher compensation, I have witnessed firsthand the transformative power of education. It is not merely a pathway to success, but a beacon of hope, a catalyst for change, and a cornerstone of our community. In the pursuit of excellence, we must prioritize equity, ensuring that every student, regardless of background or circumstance, has access to the resources, opportunities, and support they need to thrive. This means dismantling barriers, challenging bias, and fostering an inclusive environment where diversity is celebrated and embraced. Moreover, we must recognize the pivotal role of family engagement in the educational journey by forging strong partnerships between school, family, and communities. We can create a network of support that empowers students to reach their full potential and cultivate a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Let us continue to create an environment where parents are not afraid to speak up and share their values, expertise, and experience in supporting our children. Let our schools be a welcome place for all parents and a collaborative space to produce success at home and school. Central to our mission is the valiant efforts of our dedicated educators. They are the heart and soul of our schools, shaping the minds of future leaders, igniting the flames of curiosity, and installing a lifelong love of learning. It is incumbent upon us not only recognizing their invaluable contribution, but to also ensure that they are compensated fairly and equitably for their tireless dedication and unwavering commitment. As we embark on this new chapter together, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to excellence, equity, and opportunity for all. Let us seize this moment as an opportunity to inspire, innovate, and ignite a brighter future for every student in our care. Let me be clear. To my divine and practical mission, every student matters. Their voice matters, their ideas matter, their emotional well-being matters. And it is the sole responsibility of why we are here today, to train and develop healthy children who will live self-actualization. This will produce a society of future adults that first understand self-care, knowing how to healthily love themselves, then ultimately their neighbor. This is a success for life. Thank you for entrusting me with this privilege of serving our community. Together, let us chart a course toward a brighter tomorrow where every child has the chance to soar to new heights and fulfill their dreams. Thank you so much. And before I leave here, I have to let it be known our seating arrangements got a little shifted, but I do have to declare who really is the presence of the room of why I'm here. And that is my mother, Annie Jordan, who has advocated for me when I was here as a student, whatever challenges that I have. She's sitting in the third row back there, and I am so gracious to her, to my family that I love so dearly, that have always stood beside me no matter what. Every community person in here, I can't even name you all. Look how you filled up the room. My best friend, I can't even do it because we'll be in trouble and everybody has to go. I love you so much. Thank you very much.
All right, all right. Thank you, new board member Rice. We have a wonderful reception coming up. We also have a lot of, I don't know if you saw them coming in, y'all, adorable elementary school kids that are outside that are coming in to present to us tonight at 5:30. So what I'd like is take your pictures, get your selfies, give as much love as you can to our newest board member, and then we have a reception, some refreshments just out this way. Go out this way around the door. It's just set up in the other room. Get yourself a little snack. Feel free to stick around and socialize. We will need to take Ms. Rice away from you so that she can start her duties on our Board of Education when we start right at 5:35. So thank you so much. Soon. Nope. Wait, there it goes. All right, everyone, welcome. We're calling this meeting to order. It is Tuesday, February 20th at 5:36 p.m., and we're calling the regular meeting of the Wake County Board of Education to order. I want to welcome everyone who's watching at home and those that have joined us here today. Wake County Board of Education meetings are conducted for the purpose of carrying out the official business of the school system. The public is cordially invited to observe the board as it conducts its official business. Persons who willfully interrupt, disrupt, or cause disturbances at an official meeting may be directed to leave by the presiding officer. Members of the audience should show respect for the speakers by refraining from loud comments, or really any comments during their speeches, or any other disruptions. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting may be subject to action in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318-17. Phew. All right. Well, for many of you, welcome. For many of the rest of you, welcome back. As you know, we had a very special meeting just ahead of this to welcome our newest board member, Ms. Toshiba Rice. Ms. Rice was just sworn in as our newest board member representing District 4. And so now I can proudly say that while we had established a quorum of 8 at the last meeting, we now have a full quorum of 9. So welcome, Ms. Rice. Also at our last meeting, in addition to establishing the quorum, we have already said the Pledge of Allegiance. And since we have some wonderful students here tonight, I don't want to be redundant and slow our meeting down, so we're going to jump right into it with comments by our district superintendent, Dr. Robert Taylor. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first thing I want to do is welcome our newest board member, Ms. Toshiba Rice. I appreciate the words that you shared with us during your speech. You talked about gratitude and commitment, and that is absolutely what board members commit to each and every day. You shared the transformative power of education. I can tell you as a citizen of this great nation, that is the thing I'm most appreciative of, is the transformative power in education that allowed me to do the things that I do. The shared commitment to excellence and equity. I know the board and I appreciate hearing those particular words because that is the work that we do. And last but certainly not least, your thoughts on the idea that every student matters. And so that is why I know that each board member does this work, and this is why I have committed my life as an educator. So thank you and welcome to the Wake County Board of Education. Just a few comments, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to have the opportunity this evening to celebrate some of our amazing staff members, starting with this year's winners of the Diane Kent Parker First Year Teacher Award. This award honors a group of outstanding first-year teachers from elementary, secondary, and special education. This year's winners are Peyton Pugh, a second-grade teacher at Forestville Road Elementary, Anna Armstrong, a music teacher at Wendell Magnet Middle, Essence Morgan, a math teacher at Knightdale High, and Peter Westerbeek, a special education teacher at Knightdale High. It was a pleasure to visit each of these winners at their schools to surprise them with their announcements. It was fun being a part of the prize patrol. We are fortunate to have many excellent young teachers in our district who are already making an impact inside and outside the classroom. They are an inspiration to their students and their peers. It is critical that we continue to cultivate the next generation of teachers to ensure student success well into the future. And so you saw that with some of the programs that were presented during our work session that will certainly go towards supporting our teachers continuously. So again, congratulations again to these outstanding first-year teachers, and my thanks to all of those who dedicate their professional lives to educating young people. Congratulations are also in order for 106 of Wake County Public Schools employees who in December achieved National Board Certification, considered the gold standard in teaching certification. In addition, 214 of our district's National Board Certified teachers renewed their certifications. Our district recognizes the value of National Board Certification and remains committed to supporting teachers at every step of the certification process, from the initial candidacy through the maintenance of the certification process. I commend these teachers for their commitment to staying at the forefront of their profession. See a full list of these newly certified or recently renewed teachers on our website, and you can see those there. Last week, we named the 20 semifinalists to the Wake County Public School Teacher of the Year. These outstanding teachers hail from schools all over Wake County and represent a true cross-section of our staff. Who and what they teach differs, but they share in common an unshakable commitment to their students and families. Each one has demonstrated effective teaching practices that allow all students to reach their full potential. I will tell you that one of the most difficult things in Wake County is being able to select a Teacher of the Year, because we do have so many. It's a very difficult job. So these 10 finalists will be named in April, with a winner announced in May. To be recognized as one of the 20 best teachers out of a field of over 11,000 is a major accomplishment in and of itself. So again, my congratulations and thanks to each one of these semifinalists. And again, you can find them on our Facebook page. And finally, February 15th was School Resource Officer Appreciation Day. So I wanted to take a moment to thank all of our SROs for everything they do to keep our students and staff safe. Protecting the physical well-being of our students and employees is our top priority, and our SROs are essential partners in that effort. In addition to providing a security presence, many SROs become integral and beloved parts of their school communities. If you ever go out to a school, you will see those interactions between students and SROs, and I think it's a special interaction. But you don't have to take my word for it. We asked schools to share tributes to their school resource officers, and we were flooded with submissions. For example, the folks at Salem Middle School said of Officer Daniel, their SRO, you can find him giving out fist bumps, talking about the latest Canes game with students, or coaching the basketball team. He builds relationships with students in the cafeteria each day, lends a hand to staff members, and most importantly, helps protect our campus. You can find many more tributes like this on our Wake County Facebook page. Once again, thanks to all the SROs for being true partners in protecting our students. I will say that SROs go a long way in making sure we have a wonderful relationship between students and law enforcement officers, so we appreciate all the work that they do. Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments.
All right, thank you, Dr. Taylor. I hope everyone had a wonderful President's Day. We are now midway through, a little bit beyond the midway point, through Black History Month. I know at our last meeting, we had a wonderful student presentation on Black History Month, and we have another wonderful one that will be coming up very shortly, and I know we're all excited to see that. At our last meeting, I took a moment to honor some of our pioneering firsts in Wake County, among some of our black leaders to serve on our school board and as superintendent. Since that time, I'd been traveling around, actually, Ms. Rice, going to several schools in District 4, and hearing stories, meeting with parents, and we really do have a wonderful, wonderful cultural history here in Wake County. I got to attend a wonderful program with many of my fellow board members at Oberlin Middle School, talking about the courageous Joe Holt and the work he and other pioneers did fighting for integration of our school system. We have another wonderful program coming up at Washington. It's an elementary school now, but Washington's Centennial is coming up. It was the first public African-American graded and high school in Wake County. It was part of the Raleigh school system. And again, there's so many historic schools that we have. You've heard me from time to time talk about, I went to Crosby Garfield for 6th grade, and I joke about it because that was the last class. After us, they closed it down. I'm not saying I was a part of that. But what I didn't know, even as a student at Crosby, was that Crosby Garfield was that the school opened in 1878. It had been, again, one of the first black high school and graded schools that we had had, but more particularly, even in like 1938, it was lauded as one of the most, I want to get the quote right, they called it the most modern and up-to-date elementary school in the entire state of North Carolina. It was a gem in Raleigh, in the city of Raleigh, and in Wake County. And we have many of these kind of, I'll say, overlooked or forgotten treasures around the county, where schools have been converted after the merger, where they have a really rich history and tradition, whether it was John Ligon High School, which is now Ligon Magnet Middle School. They're doing wonderful things at Carnage Middle to celebrate the history of the school, building a whole history wall there. And I just hope that we'll take the opportunity beyond this month to continue to celebrate that history. We have a section on our website. I know there was some interest going back to our history where we would feature a lot of the historical buildings in Wake County, the schools and their alums. Sadly, there's a lot more left to do to get that work complete. But hopefully some of the work that we've done in the past and this month will spur us to add some more of these schools to that list. Again, we have more programs throughout the rest of the month. We're going to have a wonderful one coming up at Southeast Raleigh Magnet High School that I know many of us are looking forward to. So please, let's everybody take an opportunity to celebrate and enjoy Black History Month. On another note, I want to thank Mr. Swanson, actually, for getting me an invite to the very exclusive Cary Junior ROTC programs ball that they had. It was wonderful, Mr. Swanson. I got to not only meet the young and inspiring cadets, they were a wonderful cross-section of our community. I got to talk to AP Barefoot and the program leaders and learned a lot more about the program than I had known even just in my interactions before. I would love to go back. I hope I get an opportunity to participate again, and I wanted to thank you for having them extend me that invitation, so thank you. Finally, and again, I don't want to like talk past the sale, but we are so excited to welcome our newest member, Ms. Toshiba Rice. Ms. Rice was one of many incredible applicants. We had several people from all over District 4. Many brought different visions, different sets of qualifications, and it was, for all of them to get up and stand before us, it took a lot of strength and a lot of courage, and I want to express my appreciation to all of them. However, for Ms. Rice in particular, welcome to the Wake County Board of Education. We're excited you are here. I know that District 4 is delighted to have a full-time district representative again. And just as I said, I was traveling around District 4. I didn't get to every school, I only went to a few of them. But for those that I did, some of them had a little something for you. I wanted to present you with just a few tokens from some of our wonderful District 4 schools. I see Principal Williams, you weren't there, but I got stuff from Bug in here too, all right? So let me share this. These are just some of our schools, and they all welcome you. And I know you, no. Dr. Taylor's getting ahead of me. And I know that as we go forward, you will get an opportunity to visit all of your schools and start your own collection. But because you're coming into the term halfway, I wanted to give you a little jump start. So there you go. So again, welcome Board Member Rice. We're excited to have you. And that concludes my remarks. Vice Chair Johnson-Hostler.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I see our families and our students. Again, welcome, Board Member Rice, to the board. We look forward to our continued relationship in this new way. So welcome, and we're glad to have you join us. I thank you to all of our schools who've invited me to their Black History Month programs. I will only speak to one very briefly because I almost forgot about it. Many of you have not heard of Rosenwald School, so that's why I'll just lift this one up. the Rosenwald schools were started by John Rosenwald, who was the president and CEO of Sears Roebuck, along with many of our young people will be familiar with the name Booker T. Washington, to open schools for underfunded and lack of schools for African American community. The beautiful tidbit that hopefully some of you already know is the architectural design was by one of the first renowned black architects who graduated from Tuskegee University. So that's my Black history fact. For our young kids, I always challenge my daughter to use a fact that you haven't heard 25 times. So his name was actually Robert R. Taylor from Tuskegee. I know, from Tuskegee Institute. So that's my Black history fact for today. And again, welcome and thank you all for joining us.
All right. So as you have seen many of our meetings, you know that we do go around and offer board comment. I would turn to you, but I don't want to put you on the spot first, but know that we're coming to you second. Okay, Ms. Rice? All right. Next, I'll go to Mr. Swanson.
You know, it was like in class, I was hoping if I didn't make eye contact, I wouldn't get called on. So I was trying to make sure I did not neglect any emails about events. So thank you for that reminder, Ms. Johnson-Hostler. And welcome, Ms. Rice, as our 9th African-American board member since the merger of Wake County Public Schools in 1976. So I just want to share that tad bit of little nuggets. So I look forward to working with you and standing with you as we push our district forward to new heights. My remarks will be brief. I had the opportunity of attending Adams Elementary with Area Superintendent Dr. Sexton as we announced the new principal, Ms. Elwood, to take over Adams Elementary, and looking forward to the great things that is going to happen there. And thank you, Chair Haggerty, for filling in for me at Cary High School. I thought I could swing both, but I realized I need to be a good student myself and do some grad school homework that I had neglected, and could not make it to that event. And so I think I started a new tradition because Ms. Mahaffey made it when she was the chair, and so I think that may be the standing tradition for District 9 to make sure that we have great folks there to see the great things that are happening in our schools each and every day. And so I look forward as we celebrate Black history. I think I said this last time. I just want to reiterate this, that Black history is American history, and we do not need a month to celebrate the greatness that we have achieved and that we're going to achieve, and also understanding that a lot of these struggles that we have overcome as a community was rooted in it was rooted in so many great, beautiful things. And so Black history is American history that should be celebrated 365 days. And to our young folks here, you do not have to wait your time, wait in line, or even wait to be tapped on to make your voice and your voice heard. You have the ability to do what you feel is best and to speak up and to speak out. And as Congressman Lewis once said, get into good and necessary trouble. Because there is a lot that is happening in our society that needs your voice. And when you look throughout this civil rights history, young people's voices were at the center of the conversation. It was young folks who were putting their hands on the civil rights, on the freedom plow, pushing and shifting this nation. And I would be remiss, and I did not get to say it last week, but the beginning of this month, as we always kick off Black History Month, is a great celebration for those of us that are Aggies, because we celebrate the ANC 4. And the ANC 4, and you may hear folks say the Greensboro 4, but when the ANC 4 were protesting at the civil rights movement, or at the Woolsworth, the city of Greensboro did not want them there. And so at A&T, we've reframed that and always called them the A&T 4, because it was those 4 young men that sat down to change this nation for the better. And those 4 young men was Jabril Kassan, better also known as Ezel Blair, David Richmond, Joseph McNeil, and Mr. Franklin McNair, excuse me. Those were the 4 men that then inspired the young students to form what is now the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee at Shaw University, which is the home of every HBCU in this nation, as we often refer to as Mother Shaw, because North Carolina A&T was founded in the basement, and every other president that has represented or was a president chancellor of these institutions all came from Shaw University. So those histories is there, and so I just want to pay homage to those young men that later started the civil rights movement, and so we saw those actions take off across the South, and that was also could not have been done without the ladies of Bennett A&T that also helped co-plan, and that information is not often shared because during that time the sit-ins planning could not happen on A&T's campus, but Bennett College opened the door and allowed those folks to come on. And that's the only institution that allowed Dr. King to come on campus because contrary to the greatness that was happening, North Carolina A&T did not want him on that campus to cause trouble. So Bennett College, thank you, opened up their door and let him speak at that chapel. And so that's just the history of our HBCUs. And it's also very important that, we lift up the history and the struggles that are at our HBCUs, including what's happening at Shaw University and at St. Augustine. And I think that's just a deeper conversation to talk about the lack of funding that we have not seen at our K-12 institutions that's also playing out at our historically black colleges and universities. And so North Carolina has the most HBCUs in any other state. We have 10. Currently, 9 of them is open because Barbara Scotia is currently closed, but that history there, which is great, deep history because Mary McLeod Bethune also matriculated through that institution. So I will stop my Black History moments, but I would also encourage you all to keep looking and keep digging and making the history that you want to be in your communities.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. We'll go to Ms. Rice.
I don't think I have a quite detailed history as Mr. Swanson, but I will celebrate and say thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Chair Haggerty, I just do want to say just a very few things. Mr. Swanson mentioned that I'm the 9th African-American person to sit on the Wake County Public School Board, so I'm also a faith person, so that's some fruitfulness. So you should be looking for some fruit from me in the work that we do in this community, right? And so I do want to celebrate being this board member right now because guess what? I literally get to represent in this capacity my elementary school bug, my middle school carnage, my high school in-law first. In-law first. Let me get in-law first. But guess what's most special? My 9th grade principal, Mr. Allen, is here. Right? So isn't that amazing? That is amazing, and I'm so excited that he still remembered me, not because I was a good girl. And then ending it on out at Broughton, Mr. Hershey. So I'm a cap in the end of a thing, but it was them in-law Eagles, right, that got it, and so many of those folks came out tonight. And so one of the things that you may hear me say, just in my comments, because I'm going to be very brief, and I'm always going to talk about wellness and well-being because that is the vein in which I operate professionally and what I live. I like to say I live by my brand, right? And so every time I come around this table, I'm going to talk about an 8th dimension of wellness. And tonight's wellness dimension is occupational wellness. And so I want to encourage all of us who have occupations tonight to make sure, and all of our staff that we serve, make sure you take at least 60 seconds of your day every day to breathe, just relax, and forget about everything else you have to do, and just focus on you. Because you matter and you are amazing, and we are here to make sure that you have the best occupational life possible here at Wake County Public Schools. So that's it for me. Just a little tip about wellness and self-care, guys.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rice. Ms. Caulfield.
Thank you. I don't know if this is it on. Okay. Well, this is on a different note, I would say. This week, District 1, we have some heavy hearts over in District 1, and along with our neighboring community in Youngsville. And my hearts and prayers go out to all those family and students that are out there. And I hope that they can find a way to navigate through all of that. Unfortunately, we're continuously reminded of the important work that is going to surround mental health, substance abuse, and the dangers around drugs, alcohol, vaping.
So I'm looking forward to more conversations and some of the changes that we have as a result of our Jewel settlement that'll allow us to bring resources and hopefully some better wellness to our families and students and our staff. We need to keep the conversations going and frequently. I hope we can continue to do more at a state level, county level, and town level as well, and collaborate with everyone. On a lighter note, once again, I was blown away by our Heritage Huskies, the incredible talent at Heritage High School. They did the Addams Family. Now, I don't want to date myself, but I did grow up watching the Addams Family, so it was really awesome to not only see that, they brought some adult humor in there to keep us all involved. It was a little sad at the end, though, because I watched the last show, and I realized that all of these seniors that were announcing where they were off to and what they were doing, I've watched them all grow since they were in kindergarten, and here they are in their senior year, going off to explore it in all different ways. Everybody had something different up on stage to say where they were going, but it was a little bittersweet, a little sad for me to know that I'm not going to see them anymore, but also to see the giant smiles on that stage. I mean, just the collaboration from the choreography, the stage, the tech people behind stage, and all of the teamwork that comes together to do such an amazing show. And when I say amazing, I mean it. I mean, it is like Broadway. The kids are ridiculously talented. So just kudos to all the people involved and how they put all that together. It was an amazing show. I want to mention Read Across America is coming up from March 4th to March 8th. It's a nationwide event. It highlights and encourages students to have fun with reading. You do not just have to be a parent in order to come and help out in your community. So I think sometimes people, oftentimes I hear, well, I don't have students in school anymore. But you have more time. If you're retired, you can come down and help the students. They all appreciate it. The teachers appreciate it. And you will definitely have loads of fun with the students. So you don't have to be a parent. Just call up your local school and ask them what the volunteer opportunities are, and they'll tell you how to sign up and as a volunteer. There are several programs that we do have, and I'm sure they'll be highlighted as they come across. Read to Achieve, Wake Up and Read, along with this Read Across America. But I'm just saying that one because I know that it's coming up soon. You could also donate books, not just your time, to help the teachers and the students. And I want to also mention our next Board Advisory Committee is February 26th. We'll be sending out a questionnaire to collaborate with our families and have some open discussion. And last, I want to welcome Ms. Rice, and I'm excited to have you as our new neighbor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Caulfield. We'll come back around this way. Ms. Mahaffey?
Thank you. I just want to say welcome to Ms. Rice, and I'm going to end my comments there because I'm very excited to hear from our students.
Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. Ms. Edmonds?
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Rice. So I view this as an ascension. You've been doing this work a long time, and now you just are doing it in a different capacity with a little higher profile. So welcome. Since our last meeting, I've been to several schools. Yates Mill Elementary welcomed me to their to learn about their school improvement plan, going to their quarterly review. I got to read to kindergartners at Washington Elementary and A.B. Combs. And thank you, Combs, for inviting me to participate in my first clap out. Student leaders at Combs recognized the helpers in our community by hosting a breakfast and clap out for local law enforcement and first responders. They had members of the Raleigh Police Department, Fire Department, the Wake County Sheriff's Office, Capitol Police, members of Raleigh's Acorn team, which I love this team. It's a small team of social workers that act as first responders or with first responders to those experiencing a mental health crisis in the city of Raleigh. So it was a great event, and I was honored to participate. Like Chair Haggerty said, several of us went to the Oberlin Magnet Middle Trailblazers event, and the guest, one of the guests of honor was Mr. Joe Holt. If you ever have the opportunity to hear him speak, he's so compelling and so engaging. I highly recommend it. He is a champion for sure in our community and worth your time. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be at Penny Road Elementary for their PTA meeting. I very much appreciate them reaching out to invite me to the PTA meeting, and I welcome those invitations from any of the PTAs in my district. Last week, I attended the SHAC meeting as the board liaison, and we heard a presentation from Be Smart. Be Smart is a gun violence prevention program that aims to teach adults about safe storage and preventing children from gaining access to unsecured guns. I know that some of us have had them at our BAC meetings, and we heard from them as a board last year, and I hope that we can support them as they seek to do more presentations and get in front of more of our PTAs this year. You can learn more at besmartforkids.org. This Thursday, there is a day of action outside the North Carolina Supreme Court calling on them to uphold the Leandro ruling issued in November of 2022. Many state dollars are owed to school districts across the state, and there is much more concern that the court may throw the case out. So there's a day of action on Thursday. If you're available to attend, it's open to all. You can learn more at everychildnc.org and get all the details about where to go, when, etc. My District 5 BAC meeting will be on Monday, March 4th at 5:30 p.m. at Washington Elementary. And my final comment is I hope you notice that I am wearing my I voted early sticker today. I was there at 8 o'clock this morning. I encourage you to all go vote. Early voting is going on now through March 2nd. And there's a lot of very consequential elections in the primary. Do your homework. Go vote. You can learn more at ncvoter.org. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Edmonds. Dr. Ring.
Well, welcome, Ms. Rice. I'm looking forward to working with you, and I was very encouraged to see the faith community coming out to celebrate with you. So 2 weeks ago, I had the honor of speaking to some students at Durant Road Middle School. I first want to thank Principal Faircloth and Mrs. Tracy Latham, the Career Development Coordinator, for inviting me to speak at their academic breakfast, which was to honor all the students who had achieved honors, honor roll, or principal's list on the report cards for the quarter. So when I got to the cafeteria, I was really happy to see the room was filled up with students, and there were still students coming in. They were so excited to get their donut, but but they were also just celebrating with each other the excitement of that moment. So I had a chance to tell all the children what I do for a living and the road I had to take to get there. For me, it was learning the English language, and when I came over to the United States at 9, and then being blessed with a series of wonderful public school teachers in middle school and high school who believed in me and helped me to excel. I told the children how I first got interested in the field of medicine, which happened to involve an allergic reaction to Diet Coke, and then all the years of sacrifice to become a doctor. So I told them that they were going in the right direction by working hard in school and doing their best. After I finished, the students had a chance to ask some very good questions. One of them was, do you perform brain surgery? And it's like, no, I don't, but I do take care of people who have had brain surgeries. But they were very intrigued by what I did. In the last 2 weeks, I also had a chance to visit Bailiwick Road Elementary, West Millbrook Middle, and East Millbrook Middle Schools, and I asked each of the principals to show me what they were most proud of. And they showed me around the campus, showed me some of the kind of the fancy stuff, but what they were most proud of were their teachers and the students. They were bragging on them. And I want to thank Principal Gregg at Bailiwick and Principal Amen at West Millbrook Middle for taking the time out to show me around. But I want to express a special thanks to Principal Marson at East Millbrook Middle School because he allowed me to tag along on Valentine's Day to see him in action. I got to see him first doing the fist bumps with all the kids in the hallway, and then when I tagged along and was able to witness how he skillfully handled a difficult classroom situation. So I can see that he really, truly cared for the kids, and the kids really responded to it. So I really came away with a much greater appreciation of the important work of the principal. Our next District 3 BAC meeting will be on this coming Monday, February 26th at 5:30 p.m. at Abbott's Creek Elementary School. We plan to have Glenn Caruso and Susan Pulliam from the Office of Student Assignment to talk about the topic of student assignment and what goes into the decision to cap and uncap the school. And I wish to extend an invitation to everyone in the community to come and learn about the process. Thank you.
All right, before Mr. Hershey, before he begins, I'm going to take a quick moment of personal privilege. Ms. Mahaffey had warned me several times that as chair, it really is a very demanding job. There are a lot of demands on your time, a lot of stress. And so 8 days ago, we were in the process of trying to determine who our District 4 representative would be. We had 7 potential candidates at that point, and so I'd made it a point I wanted to go and grab some of those items for whoever was going to be selected. And I knew I couldn't get to all of the District 4 schools, but there were some that I really, really wanted to get to, and we still had to get here. We had to conduct the interviews. There were things to be set up, and in my haste, I accidentally strayed beyond the boundaries of District 4 into Mr. Hershey's district. And so, Mr. Hershey, you also have a gift from some of our wonderful principals. So here you go.
That's mine from Broad, sir. Oh, he can steer from. He got a million things.
It was actually from Moore's Square. The principal was very, very gracious, and she wanted to go ahead with it anyway as a special token of gratitude for your service. So, Mr. Hershey, take it away.
It's actually perfect, because I was going to say I need you to go to my schools and get me swag. Ms. Rice, congratulations. Well earned. To the other candidates, you know, it was an incredibly difficult process. You have one opportunity, which is much different from a campaign, and you've got to answer questions. So I just, hats off to you, but also to the other candidates that were here. It's incredibly impressive to just put yourself out there. I will now be very quick because I want to get to our students as well. As you finished at Broughton, I went to the Queen of Hearts at Broughton, which I don't even know how to explain it. It is over 80 years old. It is fascinating. And it does highlight, as all these events that we list, that I'm listing, our students are so talented, so much more than some test score on a given day. It is remarkable. I was a little disappointed that our vice chair did not mention our Sanderson High School's Black History Month celebration. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but the vice chair's husband was performing, and his shirt was special, and I hope he brings it forth to display. Yes, yes. One thing that came up at this wonderful event that Sanderson hosts every year, and they do a terrific job, is how do we get these role models, these students, these performances in front of our middle school kids. That was my thought when I was at Sanderson, is we have Carroll Middle School students that would benefit from seeing these brilliant, talented young men and women who are clearly role models, and to help get that buy-in into the different schools. So I don't know how we do that, but that's something that I would love to do. I know it's been spoken about by 2 of my colleagues already, but Oberlin Middle School was an amazing Oberlin's Trailblazers, first in the school integration fire. I won't say anything more about it other than, Dr. Taylor, you have an outstanding principal at Oberlin Middle School who came up with this and put this together, and I didn't ask to speak on her behalf, but she was, I mean, I was emotional watching it. There was a great sense of pride, and she just really did a tremendous job with this presentation, which led me to think, how do we get more of these events, these wonderful, I don't even know how to describe it. It was emotional, it was educational. We've got to have a way to highlight these on our site, on some site, not just across YouTube, but if we're going to level up, and we've got all of these terrific events that we're going to, we've got to make them more accessible to people so I can see them. So so people in the audience, so when we bring them up, they can go back and say, man, this conversation at Oberlin, I want to go see it. And so how do we highlight that? And I would actually ask that we prioritize a story, I'm sure we will anyways, on our main website that talks about the events of this month and has links to a number of the presentations that were done so people can access them. Two other quick items. My BAC meeting for District 6 will be next Monday at Martin Middle School from 12 to 1. Facilities will be presenting. Also tomorrow after Facilities Committee meeting, I will be at the Broughton PTA meeting for however long that is. And now I am greatly looking forward to what everyone really came for, which is not to hear me.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Hershey. So with that introduction, we will now turn to a special information item that we have tonight. I'd like to introduce my friend Dr. Janine Perry Campbell. Oh, got to approve the meeting agenda
Motion
first.
to approve the meeting agenda.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to approve the meeting agenda. Now I remember why I wanted to go ahead and do the information items, even though I couldn't. But I know that we also had a member who had a motion to amend the committee agenda.
Yes, I would like to pull the consent agenda to the action agenda.
The whole consent agenda?
I'm sorry, the grant proposals within under Chief of Staff.
So this would be under Chief of Staff grant proposals. The It Gets Better project grant would move from consent to action, to the same action item where we're already considering another grant. Is that clear? Does everyone follow that? All right, is there a second for the motion?
Second.
All right, there's a motion from Dr. Ng, a second from Ms. Caulfield, to pull the It Gets Better project grant from the consent agenda and to place it on action with the other grant proposal that we're considering. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Mr. Hershey? Dr. Ng?
Nay. I'm sorry, aye.
Okay,
I'm confused.
so this, just to make sure we're clear, this is Dr. Ng's motion to amend the agenda to pull this item. To take it to action tonight. All right. So this was taking the item off the consent agenda and putting it on action for tonight. Are there any questions about the motion? All right, I want to make sure everyone knows what they're voting for. All right. Because there was not a clear voter result, we're taking the vote again by roll call. We're starting with Mr. Hershey. Dr. Ng.
Aye.
Ms. Edmonds.
Nay.
Ms. Mahaffey.
Nay.
Chair will vote aye. Vice Chair Johnson Osler.
Nay.
Mr. Swanson.
No.
Ms. Caulfield.
Aye.
And Ms. Rice.
Nay.
All right. I will leave that to Ms. Allen. How did that come out? With 5 noes to 4 ayes, the motion fails, so it will stay on the consent agenda. All right. So the motion to amend has failed. Now we are voting on the consent agenda. Sorry, no, we're voting on the agenda, to adopt the agenda, not any particular item on the agenda, just to go forward with the agenda as it was originally laid out.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Swanson.
Second.
Second from Vice Chair Johnson Hostler. All in favor of adopting the current committee agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We now have a agenda. It has been sent, and the very first and most anticipated item on the agenda is now Dr. JPC, Janine Perry Campbell, who is our Director for Student and Educator Engagement. Dr. Perry Campbell, please take it away.
Good evening, Chairman Haggerty, Vice Chair Johnson Holster, board members, Dr. Taylor, and our leaders. As Mr. Haggerty said, I'm Dr. Janine Perry Campbell, Director for Student and Educator Engagement in the Office of Equity Affairs. Again, I am so honored to be before you tonight as we culminate our Black History Month. Marcus Garvey once said, a person without knowledge of their roots is like a tree. A person without the knowledge of their past history is like a tree without roots. Throughout our district, many schools have created brave spaces and belonging for their Black students by deepening their understanding of their roots and allowing them to center their voices through their Black History Month celebrations and recognitions. These recognitions have not only empowered our Black students, but they have empowered all and every student in Wake County Public Schools. Because as Mr. Swanson said, Black history is American history. It is also world history. This year, the Black History theme is African Americans in the Arts. We're so elated because the Office of Equity Affairs will be hosting our African American in the Arts Dare to Dream program this Thursday at 6:30 at Southeast Raleigh. What we're most excited about is we have over 200 Wake County Public Schools students who will be performing through step, dance, song, and some special things that we want you to come and see. So we hope you will join us and wear your kente stoves that you were received at the last meeting. Now, before we get to our little ones, we would like to share a video with you showcasing the amazing things that have occurred in our district this month. And if you look closely, you may see some of your colleagues. Thank you very much. Now I have the honor of introducing Mr. Adrian Rogers, a senior at Heritage Middle School. We have Chloe and Kyle Clark, students at Dillard Drive Magnet Elementary School. Ava Anderson, Makai Williams, Jamari Mays, students at Bug Magnet Elementary Center, and Mason Wright, a student at Hunter Magnet Elementary School. Come on up, guys.
It's like I'm in high school.
Heritage High.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in American's dream.
The hill we climb, if only we dare, is because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out of the true meanings of its creed. We uphold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wilderness front.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, and the sons of the former slaves and the sons of the former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream.
We will rise from the gold-limned hills of the west. We will rise when the wind swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution.
We will rise from the lake-rim cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful.
When day comes, we step out of their shade, a flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light.
Yes. Round of applause.
We're not done yet, y'all.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I was like, he's going to stand up.
When day comes, we step out of the shade, a flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light.
If only we're brave enough to see it.
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 If only we are brave enough to see it.
And we believe Wake County Public School System is brave enough to be it. Thank you.
Great job. Great. Now we can say.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Perry Campbell. We'll take just a quick moment to transition, let our students get home and prepared for school tomorrow, and likewise let our staff get a jump on their day as well.
Oh, I love it.
That's what I wanted, yeah.
I got you. Really? That's okay. He ain't going. Yeah, but you know he ain't going.
All right, thank you, Ms. Luton. All right, then, if we are ready to resume our agenda. Thank you, everyone. Our next item on the agenda is that we have a second information item, Wake Together update. And I understand Dr. Shanika Moore-Lawrence will open and introduce this item. Good evening, Dr. Moore-Lawrence.
Good evening. We'll start by saying it's going to be impossible. What just came, but we will do our best.
Testing, 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 1, 2, testing, 1, 2, testing. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, Board Chair Haggerty, Superintendent Taylor, and board members. My name is Dr. Shanika Moore-Lawrence, and I'm the Senior Director of K-12 Academic Advancement. I and my colleagues, who will introduce themselves as they step to the podium, are excited to be with you tonight to celebrate Wake Together, a district and community literacy-focused partnership that has demonstrated a positive impact on literacy outcomes for participating students. Not only do we celebrate the literacy gains of those students, but we also celebrate the success of the collaboration with our community partners and volunteers, and are eager to launch a call for volunteers this evening during our time with you. We know Wake Together is an initiative that will assist with the goal of ensuring that all WCPSS students are reading at or above grade level by the end of 3rd grade. We recently did a detailed presentation during the Student Achievement Committee meeting, and so this will be focused more on celebrating and launching our call for volunteers. Next slide, please. Advance, please. Oh, here we go. Thank you. We're confident that the work of Wake Together is aligned with our strategic plan, Priority 1, its goals and its aims focused on enhancing graduation, proficiency, and growth outcomes for all students, and on improving the life prospects of all learners, eliminating barriers to opportunities, and moving our students toward a more equitable future. Furthermore, we are confident that the work of Wake Together is aligned with our strategic plan, Priority 2, its goals and its aims focused on providing learning environments and programming that support not only our students' academic success, but also their well-being, attendance, and confidence in their limitless potential. You may be asking yourself, who are these community partners that have joined WCPSS to accelerate learning outcomes for our students? As you can see from this visual, we have an extensive partner roster, including Wake Ed Partnership, the YMCA, Helping Education, Wake Up and Read, Communities in School, the Daniel Center, City of Raleigh, Read and Feed, and the Boys and Girls Club. We are pleased that this evening you will get to hear directly from one of our partners' leaders, Keith Poston, President of Wake Ed Partnership. While our current partnerships are extensive, we are always seeking ways to expand our reach and to get others at the table for this collaborative work. The work and impact of Wake Together is strengthened by our utilization of helping early literacy with practice strategies, also known as HELPS. Currently, in WCPSS, the HELPS model features both one-on-one and small group instruction for elementary age students delivered by volunteers and educators trained in the HELPS curriculum. Can you imagine the power this literacy work has across our district via teachers, interventionists, instructional assistants, volunteers, and even within community organizations? During the 2022-2023 school year, Wake Together was launched in 25 schools. And during the 23-24 school year, our goal is 62 schools. Recently, we had a meeting with principals eager to learn more about Wake Together, and based on initial responses, we are anticipating our participation numbers to skyrocket in the next few weeks. On the next few slides, you will note that the literacy support, inclusive of training and coaching from Helping Education, is provided for both volunteers and school staff and is rooted in the use of an evidence-based reading fluency model. This slide also captures that volunteers recruited and placed in conjunction with Wake Ed Partnership deliver the HELPS curriculum 1 to 2 hours per week with students one-to-one. Here, I'll add that school staff utilizing the HELPS curriculum are utilizing it as a small group intervention. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Becky Foote, who is the Senior Administrator for Enrichment and Community Involvement. Becky?
Thank you, Dr. Moore-Lawrence, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It really has been a highlight of my career to be involved with this program, Wake Together, and now I have the opportunity to share data with you about the impact of this initiative on the literacy growth of our students in our inaugural year, which was 2022-23. As you can see, over 1,000 students were served in Wake Together last year. They received small group support, one-on-one support, or both models using the evidence-based program HELPS that Dr. Moore-Lawrence described. It's also exciting to share that we serve students who were identified as below benchmark in oral reading fluency at the middle of the year and made tremendous gains as we progressed through the year and used our M-class oral reading fluency measure to measure their success. It was not unexpected that these students were largely African American or Black or Hispanic and Latino. At mid-year, when we measured student proficiency, we used the oral reading fluency, as I said, and by the end of the year, the percent of students make sure I've got the right one. The percent of students who met benchmarks grew significantly when the students were served using the HELPS evidence-based program and our partnership, which we call Wake Together. In fact, they outperformed all students in grades 2 through 5 by a large margin. I ask that you look at the slope of the colored lines in the slides. The growth is notable, with students served in small groups increasing from 13.1% proficient at mid-year to 36.9% proficient by the end of the year. You can also see the growth of our students who were served in the one-to-one model from 12.7 to 38.6% proficient, and an even slightly greater growth for students who were served using both programs. It really is remarkable that the students across subgroups made significant gains. Regardless of whether students received HELPS in small groups, one-on-one, or both, the percent of students meeting proficiency benchmarks clearly climbed. In my mind, this is indicative of the fact that evidence-based programs work when they're implemented with fidelity and are aligned with student need. We know what to do. The research tells us that. And in this program, we did it. We are taking the time to collect data and measure our impact on student success. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of our esteemed principals, Ms. Beverly Smith from Smith Magnet Elementary School. Ms. Smith is a strategic leader who has embraced this support for her students and who creates a culture of collaboration and student advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. To our board chair, Mr. Haggerty, to our vice chair, Monica Johnson-Hofsler, our superintendent, and other leaders, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here this evening. I'm excited to talk with you a little bit about the power of and appreciation of the volunteers and staff that are facilitating the HELPS program at Smith Magnet Elementary. While I'll be giving you a few numbers and some data shortly, in addition to what Becky has already shared with you, to support student academic achievement and success, it is the volunteers and the staff that are making a daily impact at the school. We are seeing great gains in student accuracy rates, growth in fluency, and accelerated growth rates. In the HELP Small Group program, we are seeing the greatest gains. Before break and mid-year data, we had 15 students involved in the HELP small groups, and as many students needed review or reteaching on decoding skills. 47% of the students met their goal for accelerated growth in oral reading fluency. However, 87% met their goal for accelerated growth in oral reading accuracy. Even students who did not meet the fluency goal made at least 20 words or more worth of gain in their overall fluency rate and will continue to grow with more time in the program. Accuracy remains a skill important to develop even before automaticity, so our teachers could not be more pleased with these results. All of these students came, as Becky said, from our neediest subgroups. In mid-December, we actually had 3 3rd through 5th grade teachers, 1 interventionist, 1 instructional assistant, and 1 NC Ed Core tutor also trained. They now have begun serving an additional 40 students in need. Fast forward a little bit, currently we have 11 trained staff and volunteers, 2 of which are our NC Ed Core instructional support staff, and we have 4 one-on-one volunteers. Even after starting placement tests and then analyzing mid-year M-class data, 10 students were moved on to comprehension interventions due to meeting M-class benchmarks mid-year and also consistently meeting the HELPS target even in the 3 weeks of sessions they had. Hopefully, you can see the human impact and response to implementing this program. It is something to celebrate at Smith Magnet Elementary School. Teachers, instructional assistants, and volunteers alike compliment the ease with which the program is implemented and supported, and speak frequently about the progress of their students. The coaching, materials, and access to data after every session maximizes the impact we have for students with little to no preparation or burden. The daily interaction with students on their progress and reviewing the graph also allows them to buy into the program, enjoy it, and celebrate their achievements on a much more frequent basis. This allows our students, as I mentioned, in the neediest subgroups to experience success. And even if not meeting the exact above average growth goal, they are experiencing significant growth in positive directions. In conclusion, we have learned the importance of matching this intervention with the right students, the right staff, at the right time in their school day to maximize success. We look forward to continuing this work and sharing our story with others. We too are committed to excellence and equity, and we are thriving in our hive. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal.
Thanks, Beverly. Hello, everybody. Chairman Haggerty. They told me I only had 2 minutes, and you know how that is. All right. But first of all, welcome, Ms. Rice. Congratulations on, if the company you keep says something about you, you had some of the best people in Wake County here tonight with you, so congratulations. I'm Keith Poston. If you don't know me that well yet, but I'm president of Wake Ed Partnership. It's the best organization in Wake County because all we do is support the Wake County Public Schools and teachers and students and the families of Wake County. So, I mean, you know, who's got it better than us, right? But part of how we do that is through our programs. We have programs like Partners Read, we got Summer STEM, we got Career Accelerator, and everybody up here's favorite program, Tools for Schools. We were jam-packed today. It was a teacher's work day, so we were slamming. Ms. Rice will have to get you out there volunteering and bring Tyler and Chairman Haggerty out there and come help and see these teachers get all those school supplies they need. But I'm here today to talk about Wake Together. It's an effort we've been engaged with since its inception, but just in the last few months we've taken on a different role to really do two things: to help recruit community-based organizations to be part of it, and the other is to recruit more volunteers. The first is the community-based organizations. Our goal here is to target groups that are already serving students, so it's either in after-school settings or in summer programs, and we'll do that, then train the staff and the volunteers at those programs in this exact same curriculum that's being deployed in the Wake County Public Schools. And so by doing that, we can effectively reach more students where they are, and also do it the same way that it's being done in the schools. And one of the best parts about it, because this is something we've tried to do with some of our other programs, we're going to be able to track the progress and the data off-site at these programs, feed it back into Wake County Public School System so the teachers and the parents and the schools can track that progress and the students can celebrate how they're doing. So even if, no matter what the gains are, even if it's in the summertime, it'll be part of that student's record. We've got 3 programs. There were a couple that were mentioned at the beginning that are officially now part of that. The Daniel Center, some of y'all know Kirby Jones, the Read and Feed program, and Communities and Schools. So those are the first 3 that are getting trained to start deploying this with their students. The second part is, y'all, we need some more volunteers if we're going to keep doing this. It is not a big lift, but the reward is amazing. Once someone expresses an interest in volunteering, it's a 4-hour training. That's it. It is a very easy program to learn, and then based on their schedules and preferences, we then place those volunteers into the schools to work directly. And we're asking for volunteers to give 1 to 2 hours a week. I mean, it's not a lot, but the number of students that can be reached during that period of time are amazing. And I just want to wrap up by just reiterating what Becky detailed. Folks, this program works. I mean, I have worked in a lot of programs in education in the last 10 years. To see some of the most struggling readers, the most challenging students that we have that are dealing with reading issues, reading at 12 to 13% of where they should be in terms of how many are meeting benchmark, in 6 months being 40% of them meeting it, you don't find that other places. And to see the biggest gains in our Black and Latino students, which again, historically the most marginalized and the biggest achievement gap. So I would just say this to help us find more volunteers. We're going to be talking to you. We're going to be talking to our business community to try to get some of their employees involved in a more broad scale thing. But I'm excited about it. I think it's a wonderful program, and I love the progress that we're making. So I'm going to bring it back to you to finish up, Shanika.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Keith. We appreciate the great, outstanding partnership that you have with us as we pursue this district-wide literacy campaign. Do want to highlight that in 2023, Wake Together received a Pacesetter Award from this organization, and the Pacesetter Award application noted that our community collaboration, our evidence-based practices, and our culture of continuous improvement was evident in this initiative. We are anticipating more organizations and volunteers to heed the call that we are making today. As we highlight aspects of our district work in the area of literacy and community engagement, we definitely want to do a quick plug for Wake Up and Read, where we are supported by a coalition of community partners. Our children's book drive is continuing through February 29th. Please consider donating new or gently used books, providing a monetary donation to purchase new books, and or volunteering in various capacities to make the drive happen. And we thank you in advance for that. In closing, we hope that we've shared this evening something that illustrates that our district, schools, and community have been committed to sustaining work like Wake Together beyond the pandemic. We will continue to enhance all aspects of our infrastructure via programming, financial investment, allotment of human resources, and more to demonstrate that we are devoted to expanding this work to reach more schools, students, volunteers, and partners. Thank you so much for allowing this time this evening. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Moore-Lawrence. We really appreciate it. We know that was a hard act to follow, but
Yes.
this was also a wonderful
Thank you.
presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Now we'll move into the public comment portion of our meeting. Speakers commenting on items on tonight's agenda will be heard before speakers commenting on other topics. All other speakers will be heard in order of sign-up. Only the person speaking at the podium will be able to stand. Again, all attendees that are not speaking are to remain seated. If you have to leave the room, also remember the building is closed. It's after hours, so please do not remain in the building, as only this room is open to the public after hours. If the public comment portion of the agenda exceeds 30 minutes, board policy says we have the right to reserve the end of the meeting. We can conduct other board business before inviting the remaining speakers to the podium. Members of the public are welcome to offer comments or criticism directive at the substantive ideas, actions, or procedures of the board and individual board members. Laws and policies of North Carolina provide the issues or concerns involving individual personnel and individual student matters, however, are confidential, and therefore those are not appropriate for public comment settings. Those offering comments to the board, including students, may discuss issues and matters of general concern. Concerns related to specific personnel issues or specific student matters may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. In the interest of maintaining civility and decorum, speakers are encouraged to address their comments to the Board of Education and must refrain from personal attacks and insults directed at the board, individual board members, staff, and members of the general public. Please remain at the podium during your speaking time. Any materials you wish to share with the board should be handed to our board attorney, Mr. Rod Malone, down here at the end of the table, and either you can provide those either before your comments or after your comments. During public comment, you may speak to up to 3 minutes. Note that the microphones are adjustable. We are experiencing some technical difficulties, so we will likely have to be keeping time manually. So Mr. Malone, the aforementioned Mr. Malone at the end of the table, will give you a signal both when you have 30 seconds remaining and then a signal when your time has expired. When you see Mr. Malone signal you, please conclude your comment. When your time is up, another speaker will be called to the podium. Please do not pretend not to see Mr. Malone, because I will see Mr. Malone and we will still call the next speaker up to the podium. Speakers are asked to respect the time limit and to speak for no more than 3 minutes. And again, you may always choose to speak for less time. I always say that, no one ever does. So thank you all for coming out. We will go to the speakers who are first speaking to items on the agenda. And our first speaker tonight is Teresa Jones, who will be followed by Renee Seckel. Ms. Jones, welcome.
Good evening. Electric personality. No. I'm here tonight to ask you to support grants that will allow students or to allow schools to apply for funds for diverse books. I have been here several times in the last year or so talking about the importance of representation in books, and my favorite quote from Udine Sims Bishop about mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. It is not only critical that students have access to books that reflect their experience, but books that give them insight into the lives and stories that are different from their own. In order to provide our children with the education to be successful, productive citizens, we need diverse books in our schools, books that represent and celebrate the wonderful diversity of our community. During February, we celebrate Black History Month, but Black history is American history and should be written seamlessly into our curriculum, including the painful parts, the parts that make us all pause and think critically about the history of our nation and the complicity of white privilege. This is the only way to heal and move forward, and diverse books can play an important part in this process. I can distinctly remember many years ago volunteering in my child's classroom in elementary school when they were reading The Watsons Go to Birmingham. This is what Dr. Bishop would call a window book, a book that provides the reader with a look into the lives and the worlds of people who are different from them. Window books expose children and all of us to new experiences, ideas, interests, perspectives, and ways of thinking about and doing things. Window books support building connections and understanding and can help break down stereotypes, biases, and prejudices. Yes, it was very uncomfortable for me, but that was me looking through the lens of a 45-year-old woman with white guilt. The kids that were reading the book, however, only had empathy for the characters and curiosity about the history. Our kids also need diverse books that are current. As wonderful as The Watsons Go to Birmingham is, it was written in 1963. All students also deserve to see themselves represented not just in the difficult history, but in joy, accomplishments, and everyday struggles and celebrations. This is how we build understanding and empathy in our culture and prepare our children to be collaborative and engaged world citizens.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ms. Renee Seckel. After Ms. Seckel, that will conclude the speakers we have speaking on agenda. So then we will go to the speakers who are speaking off agenda, and the first person on that list will be Joseph Deaton. All right. Good evening, Ms. Seckel.
Good evening. Welcome, Ms. Rice. It's nice to have you on the board. I have spoken here many, many times about how strongly I feel that our schools need diverse books so that every child can see themselves reflected joyfully and in their entire humanity in school books. So I'm not going to belabor that point. Today I'd really like to talk about, and forgive me, it's going to be rough, how important it is for children who are not of a marginalized community to see students who are marginalized in books, in the curriculum, everywhere, so that they can be aware of the diversity of human experience and what's out there. If we had so many books, and if such books weren't under such deep attack, then maybe a precious 16-year-old non-binary child who was beaten brutally to death in a bathroom in Oklahoma at her school would be alive today. At their school, good gravy, sorry, would be alive today. These are matters of life and death. We cannot continue the way that we have been going in this school system and in this country with people coming in and deciding, and not you all, but people coming in and demanding that certain children be told they're less than, that they no longer belong in school, that there's something inherently wrong with them. On that note, I'd like to provide a little bit of information, and Mr. Malone, I'll hand this to you in a minute, but I could only manage to make one copy, about what lies behind these attacks on students and attacks on schools. because as you are all more than well aware, it started just a couple of years ago with people coming in and demanding that we stop teaching CRT in our schools. Well, these attacks are coming from somewhere. They're coming from right-wing extremist influencers. I hesitate to call them intellectuals, though they do work at places like the Claremont Institute. One of them, Dr. Scott Yenor of the Claremont Institute, was recently, his emails came out and were printed in the New York Times, and he has a lot to say. And I think it's important that we understand where they're coming from. In some of his emails, he debated whether they should reveal some of the true goals of this anti-CRT, and now we're seeing anti-DEI and anti-SEL movement. The belief that a healthy society requires patriarchy, for example, and their broader opposition to anti-discrimination laws. Mr. Yenor also, at some point, spoke disparagingly of the very people who come forward at our school board to seek to ban books. He called CRT and its associated ideologies a lot of smoke or boob bait for the bubbas. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think I want to follow any thought leader who would think I'm a bubba, whatever the heck that even means. Furthermore, as we hear so frequently at this school board meeting, people demand that oops, am I done?
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't see you.
Apologize
I'm
for a
sorry.
second. I think you missed the 30-second.
Yeah, totally missed it.
there, so-
I apologize. No, that's my problem, not yours.
Thank you, Ms. Seckel. All right, our next speaker will be Joseph Deaton, and Mr. Deaton will be followed by John Baylog. Good evening, Mr. Deaton.
Good evening. I always watch the documentaries on the civil rights movement because the struggle for America to live up to her ideals is such an important part of history. Many of these are broadcast on UNC TV at-home learning, so I assume the public schools make use of them. But I've also read a lot on my own, and I find that there are some important voices that have been omitted from the documentaries. Last time I told you about Dr. Paul Cornley, who said that the recommendation of the 1972 Population Commission to give contraception and instruction to minors would destroy the foundation of the family. And now that is highly relevant to your deliberations on sex education today. As a man who suffered discrimination, Dr. Cornley decried how the commission labeled a whole segment of humanity as unwanted children. And as a public health expert, he blasted the commission for misrepresenting statistics to claim that abortion was safe and decreased maternal mortality, and for greatly exaggerating the number of deaths from self-abortions. And we know that he was right about that because the founder of NARAL, Dr. Bernard Nathanson, later confessed that he had pulled the estimate of 10,000 deaths per year out of thin air to advocate for legalizing abortion, while studies put the actual number around 200. And the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee is covered extensively, but not their opposition to family planning policy in the Johnson administration, because it aimed to limit the numbers of black and poor people instead of alleviating poverty and its root causes. Similarly, it's never told that black Muslims, Black Panthers, and other black nationalists called federal family planning a genocidal plot. And the opposition to abortion by civil rights leaders like Ralph Abernathy and Jesse Jackson is also not mentioned. If you aim to present an accurate and inclusive history of the civil rights era, these voices must be heard too. And well, thank you and welcome and congratulations to our new board member.
Thank you, Mr. Deaton. Our next speaker is Mr. John Baylog, who will be followed by Derek Bird. Good evening, Mr. Balog.
Good evening. So when you raise your hand, is it 30 seconds?
Yes, sir.
And then the second hand, when he raises, then I'm in trouble. That'll work. Good evening, school board members. Thank you for your time. The following is found in multiple Wake County school libraries. I apologize for giving airtime to this. Book, Lawn Boy by Jonathan Evison, found in most high schools. What if I told you I sucked it? I was 10 years old, but it's true. I put Doug's bloop in my mouth. He sucked mine too. Book, Empire of Storms by Sarah Mass, found in multiple middle schools and high schools. She dragged her hands through his thick hair over the muscles of his back as it flexed and rippled each thrust that drove her toward that shimmering edge again. This was the least graphic of what was in that book. Using the content rating, based rating, both examples rate a 4 out of 5, which is not allowed for minors. The problem is school systems are exempt from NC statutes in regards to pornography. We are working to clarify that with the legislature. We need accountability and financial incentives in our laws. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. If these are literary classics, which they're not, any book not intended for minors up to 17 must be limited access, age appropriate in all school libraries. We are not looking to ban books. Although a nice plant would serve the bookshelf space better. The school board is debating a grant from an organization called We Need Diverse Books, which includes Boy Meets Boy, etc. You can go on their website and check it out. Yes, we need diversity. We need subject and curriculum diversity. We need passing grades in math, English, science, social studies, music. Anything else must be consent in, not behind our back, consent out. We have the right to freedom of speech and press, but the school system does not have the right to overrule parental rights. We have the right to bear arms, but not the right to keep a loaded gun where a child can get it. We have the right to assemble, which is what we are doing here tonight. Some to voice our concerns about the power this board has over our children and parents. The right to vote, which will be of critical importance this fall, both locally and nationally. A parent sent me an email from a Wake County school principal. They are doing a weekly BIMAS, Behavioral Intervention Monitoring Assessment System. Is that the 30 seconds? Thank you. I appreciate it. The opt-out date was October 13th. This parent states, I already did the form, but who says they didn't lose it? I'm sure they'll do every student regardless. No proof that you're actually on the opt-out list. It's all trust behind closed doors. I would say you have a parental trust issue. Please make everything outside of the core curriculum opt-in as you go through the school year. Lord, I pray unrest to those who defy parental rights and child safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Balog. Next up is Derek Bird, followed by Margaret Bilodeau. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members. I want to take the personal privilege to congratulate and welcome Toshiba Rice to the board. As we have heard about all of the wonderful experiences that folks have had and all of the celebrations around Black History Month this past month, I wanted to come today to make you aware of the fact that for the third year, Governor Cooper has designated and proclaimed February as Family Support Awareness Month, highlighting the critical work of home visitors and parenting educators across the state. Early childhood, home visiting, and parent education programs strengthen the relationships between parents and children, increase parenting skills, and build confidence. These programs help to build a system of support for families and ensure children are ready to learn, improve child health, and keep children safe. I represent and lead a Family Resource Center, South Atlantic here in Wake County, and also co-chair our Family First Community Network, which was developed as a result of many of our family support programs who worked alongside Safe Child and other groups to develop a Wake County child abuse prevention plan. And so we work to expand and increase community awareness and utilizations of all of our programs, particularly our family support programs. We want to promote safe and nurturing family caretaker relationships, and we try to look at how we can provide and continue to bring these services with an racial equity and culturally responsive lens. We wanted to come and share this with you this evening because we acknowledge and recognize all of the work and partnerships that many of our programs have with Wake County Public Schools to support our students and their families. And so we, again, just celebrate and thank you for your willingness to provide that level of partnership with many of our programs and organizations. And we ask that you continue to expand on that and to encourage and help to really make us equal partners in helping to support the students of Wake County Public School systems. And we will gladly be willing to support that work in building a future fit for children and children fit for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. And I'll eat my words. We had someone who did not use all of the 3 minutes. Thank you so much. Our next speaker tonight is Margaret Bilodeau. Is Margaret still here? There she is. All right. And then Margaret will be followed by Eileen Johansson. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Board and Superintendent, for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to ask the Board to lend your support in asking for the Comprehensive Remedial Plan, also known as Leandro, to be upheld to provide every student in North Carolina with their state constitutional right to a sound and basic education, regardless of their background or abilities. Education opens doors to opportunities and enables individuals to reach their full potential, yet across our state, countless students are being denied this fundamental right due to inadequate funding and resource disparities. Among those who stand to benefit the most from these funds are our exceptional children. These students with their unique needs and abilities have long been marginalized within our education system. Leandro funding would allow us to enter an era of inclusivity and support for exceptional children in the Wake County Public Schools by investing in specialized resources, trained personnel, and tailored interventions to ensure that every child, irrespective of their abilities, receives the necessary support to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. The impact of these funds encompasses all students in Wake County. By investing in our schools, we can guarantee that every student has access to high-quality education that prepares them for success in an increasingly competitive world through changes such as smaller class sizes, updated learning materials, expanded extracurricular opportunities, and improved support services for students with diverse needs, regardless of their background or zip code. Together, let us stand in solidarity with the Leandro verdict and advocate for the resources and support necessary to uplift all students in Wake County Public Schools in North Carolina at large. Join me and others on February 22nd in Raleigh as we rally to ask the Supreme Court of North Carolina to affirm the Leandro verdict and release the funds that our students need. After 30 years, the time for action is now. Together, we can ensure that every child in North Carolina Public Schools has the opportunity to fulfill their potential and make positive contributions to our shared future. Thank you. And
Thank
I just
you.
printed some informational fact sheets for everyone and a flyer.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Bilodeau. All right. Our next speaker, I believe, is Eileen Johansson. And Ms. Johansson will be followed by Robin Livingston, who will be our concluding speaker for the evening.
I'm short.
It's all right.
Okay, good evening.
Begin whenever you're ready. Thanks, Ms.
So there was a famous broadcaster named Paul Harvey, and he has a warning for us today. So I'll start with this. If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I wanted to engulf the whole world in darkness. I would start with the United States. I would subvert the churches first. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old people, I would teach them to pray after me, Our Father which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I could sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction, but I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves and churches and nations. And with promises of higher ratings, I would have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let them run wild until before you know it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I would have prisons overflowing, I'd have judges promoting pornography, soon I would evict God from the courthouse, and then the schoolhouse, and then from Congress. And it's his own churches would substitute psychology for religion. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbols Easter just an egg and Christmas just a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want until I had killed the incentive of ambitions. And what do you bet? I would have states promote gambling as a way to get rich. I would caution against extremes and hard work in patriotism and moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, and what you see on the TV is the way to be. And thus, I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep doing what he's doing. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Johansson. Our final speaker of the evening is Robin Livingston.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Livingston.
Welcome, Ms. Rice. It's good to have you here. I just wanted to, I have a 10th grader at Wake Young Men's Leadership Academy, and I wanted to thank Mr. Hershey publicly for keeping us as informed as possible. I know it's still up in the air. There's a lot of issues with St. Augustine's. But there is a lot of anxiety among parents, especially of rising 11th and 12th graders, because we don't know what the future is. So I just ask you just to consider the weight of the decision. They only have a year or two left of high school, so whatever happens, I think the promise of the early college may be broken, and that's an anxiety that some parents have. I don't personally have it. My son will be fine regardless. But I watched a little bit of the press conference yesterday with the president, Burgess. Makes me sad for them. And I really wish them well, but I don't think that has any bearing on the decision that we make here. So I just wanted to emphasize, there's a lot of people behind this. There's a lot of anxiety. The sooner we make decisions, the better for us. And I really appreciate your activity with our groups. So thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Livingston. So that concludes our public comment period. Next on our agenda, we have consideration of our consent agenda. Because I know there was a motion to remove an item. If we do move to adopt the consent agenda and second it, I will ask for just a roll call vote. All right.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda?
We have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Mahaffey, second by Vice Chair Johnson-Hostler. We'll go around for a roll call vote. Mr. Hershey?
Aye.
Dr. Eng?
Nay.
Ms. Edmonds?
Aye.
Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
I was jumping out of order there. Chair will vote aye. Vice Chair Johnson-Hostler?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Ms. Caulfield?
Nay.
And Ms. Rice?
Aye.
All right. Ms. Allen, do you have the vote? All right. By a vote of 7-2, the consent agenda passes. Next, we'll move to our action agenda. The first item on our action agenda tonight, I believe, will be the harmful impact of social media on students. Give me a minute to refresh my screen. All right. Thank you all. Today, the Board of Education will consider whether to file a lawsuit against Meta, Google, ByteDance, and Snap for the harmful effects the company's products have had on Wake County students. Excuse me? Yes, Ms. Livingston didn't use all of her time. That surprised me. We had a lot of great speakers tonight. So peer-reviewed research has revealed that social media products cause mental health issues in youth, including anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and eating disorders. These companies have designed their products to attract and addict teen and adolescent users using targeted algorithms, constant notifications, insufficient parental controls, and endless scrolling, resulting in what the U.S. Surgeon General has described as, quote, just not a fair fight, unquote, between children and big tech. Over 1/3 of children ages 13 to 17 report using one of the company's applications, quote, almost constantly, unquote. Students experiencing anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues are more likely to perform worse in school, not attend school, to engage in substance abuse, and display disruptive behaviors, all of which directly affects the school system's ability to fulfill its educational mission. This results in an increased need for mental health support and interventions. In 2019, 18.9% of high school-aged children in North Carolina reported they seriously considered attempting suicide, and that number grew to 22.3% in 2021. The strategies used by the social media companies endanger our students' health and safety and have placed a burden on our school system. More than 200 school systems in the United States have already filed suit against these three companies, and WCPSS would be the 12th school district in North Carolina to agree to file suit against these companies. It will seek to hold, the action that we're contemplating tonight would seek to hold these companies accountable for their roles in the youth mental health crisis. We have with us tonight, you might recognize this legal team that have represented us in class action litigation before, most notably recently against Jewel and Altria. So I'd like to welcome Ms. Janet Ward Black and Mr. Matthew Legg to the podium.
Thank you, Chair Haggerty, Vice Chair Johnson-Hostler, and Superintendent Taylor, and all of you. It's good to see you again. We thank you for this opportunity to hear from us very briefly. I believe the Chair has made a pretty good summary of the status of things. We hear a lot tonight, and we've learned a lot. Teaching is hard. Learning is hard. Resources are scarce. And what has happened is a burden has been shifted to the schools, to the teachers, that is not a fair burden. And there's an opportunity as a result of taking action through litigation against social media companies, perhaps to get a modification of their behavior, as well as potentially some compensation to make up for the health care costs that are being incurred as a result of these actions. We have a very brief PowerPoint, and I'm not sure if it's going to be brought up, but I believe you have a copy with you and that you were provided in your packages. So very, very briefly, there is litigation already ongoing. Let me make sure I'm not supposed to do something here. Okay. There is litigation that is ongoing, federal litigation, that is by many different entities, including state attorneys general, but the hundreds of school boards that the chair mentioned. This is an opportunity for Wake to come alongside those other school boards to help make a mighty force together to be able to change what's happening with social media and the addiction that has occurred to our students. It is a mental health crisis. It is hard enough for students as it is to function But if you have social media that's feeding into your anxiety, into your depression, into potentially suicidal ideation, into eating disorders, it is making it even harder for those precious resources to be used most effectively to be able to educate the students of this county. The company's products have been formulated in such a way to cause addiction. Algorithms and different platforms are created so that individuals stay on them as long as possible so that more ads can be served up to individuals. Personal data is being collected. There are insufficient parental controls. There is insufficient age verification required. As a result of likes and other kind of things, there is a little dopamine hit that occurs to individuals when somebody dings them or you get some sort of reaction that makes people feel better and also encourages them to stay longer on a social media platform. So what these schools have done, the school systems have done, is to file suit against these entities that you see on the list here. Meta, which is responsible for Facebook and Instagram, ByteDance, which is responsible for TikTok, Snap, which is responsible for Snapchat, and Google, which is responsible for YouTube. These companies have the ability to change their products. That's what we seek in this litigation. And I'm going to turn it over briefly for Mr. Legg to explain about the litigation and potential damages that we would seek.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so we find that that these social media companies have, as Janet Ward has talked about, have reaped enormous benefits at the expense of school boards and others. And we see school boards as being on the front lines of this problem. And so this litigation is a useful tool that we think can be used to both get these social media companies to stop doing what they're doing, but also to equip them with the resources that they need, both to replenish resources that school boards have diverted in the past to deal with this problem. But we do not think this problem is going to go away in the future, so we want to make sure that school boards are equipped to deal with this problem going forward. So if you can see the slide here, it's just a couple examples of some of the damages that we've seen across the country. It's school resources, diverting resources away from educating students have been used to deal with this problem, whether it's educating staff, bringing on mental health professionals. And we also are finding that there's just time that has been being taken away from the school's core mission, and so we want to make sure that school boards have the resources to deal with it. Considerations for Wake County. We do not, we charge on a contingency fee basis, so without a successful recovery, we do not receive a fee. We will front all expenses going forward as well. And in terms of a time investment, we know you're all very busy. We take on the heavy lifting in terms of any kind of administrative work that goes into it, and sort of analogous looking at the Jewel litigation, that there's a lot of parallels between how sort of structurally how that litigation went and how this one looks, and it took about 8 to 10 hours of staff time. We would be working with somebody within the school system to move this thing along. So with that, we appreciate your time, and we're here to answer any questions that you have.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions anyone on the board has for the counselors first, and then after giving an opportunity to ask any questions, then we can have just discussion among ourselves. Ms. Evans?
A statement and a question. So on slide 11, which we didn't get to, it does show some of the other districts in North Carolina that have already joined. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then are you at liberty to list some of the other districts across the country that have joined, just for the public's awareness?
I bet you can come off the top of your head better than I can.
Yeah, I certainly can't name them all, but Miami-Dade is the school board that has joined. If you look at Maryland, you've got Baltimore County has filed suit. The city of Baltimore has filed suit. Pittsburgh, you see that Charlotte-Mecklenburg has filed suit. I could name off some others, but some of the largest school boards across the country are involved.
Other questions for the attorneys? Mr. Swanson.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I just have a couple questions. My first question is I see YouTube is on this list, and I know that we use YouTube for educational purposes. So could you explain, what some of the pros and cons could be with YouTube being one of the agencies here that are being that's connected to this litigation?
Well, the litigation is unrelated to any kind of contractual arrangement that's between Wake and between YouTube. The issue with the prosecution is what's happening with respect to the children outside of that context. It doesn't have to do with what the schools are doing with respect to Google/YouTube directly, but rather what mental health effects are occurring on the students as a result of the algorithm providing content to them that they did not seek voluntarily.
Great. That works. Thank you. And I'm assuming this has already happened, but I don't really want to assume, because you know what they say when you assume. But has there been some conversations with these entities to talk about the harm that has been done?
There's been a tremendous amount. There have been a lot of efforts, and sometimes change occurs by a two-pronged approach: legislation and litigation. And you may have seen the pictures of the presidents of these organizations in front of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee week before last, and you saw the audience full of individuals holding up the pictures of their children who had died as a consequence of use of social media. So there's been a whole lot of talk, but sometimes litigation is what brings people's attention directly, the decision makers' attention directly to perhaps a change is appropriate. As you may recall from the Jewel litigation, it was only when a case was getting ready to go to trial that the entire country's worth of claims settled. So sometimes that two-pronged process is necessary for change, and sometimes one just moves more quickly than the other.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any further questions for the attorneys? All right. We appreciate you coming out and making the presentation with us. We'll have a discussion here on the board. If you all just remain available, we might have a question we had not yet contemplated. Thank you. So, board members, you have seen a sample complaint that the attorneys, if we choose to engage them, would file on behalf of WCPSS against these named parties for the harms that they've identified, and seeking, several options for relief. Trying to immediately adopt common sense protections to protect our students and minors for some of this harmful, even exploitive business practices. There would also be, I think, a demand for responsibility in terms of the resources we've expended in how we handle a lot of the harm that our students are bringing to school. I know this is an issue that's been in the media. I know as a board we've talked collectively sort of about the topic before. I just want to go around the table and see if anyone had any specific questions, reservations, endorsement, or where everyone was before we take a motion. Mr. Hershey?
I am prepared to make a motion and support this wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Dr. Ng?
I've been pondering this, and I just think about, how, it's like having a car. A car is a tool. The internet is a tool, and certainly, you can speed as, 150, 180 miles per hour, but is that really wise? Speed limits were placed to promote safety. And I feel like, what we're doing now is in some ways trying to provide some strict mechanism of protecting our children. And so I will be also supporting it.
Thank you. Ms. Edmonds, any comment? Ms. Mahaffey? Okay. All right. I'm just seeing nods. Ms. Caulfield or Ms. Rice? I know that you're joining us a little bit late into it, Ms. Rice, but do you believe that you have sufficient information?
Yes, I'm very much aware of the challenges around mental wellness with social media.
I imagine that's come up in your day job.
Pretty much all day.
Thank you. Ms. Caulfield?
I am ready to vote. I wanted to say that, as far as having tools, I think that it is a tool, and as a carpenter has a tool, it's to use it safely and, to have, and wisely. And I am actually grateful that we have this opportunity that is brought before us, that we can actually have these companies be accountable for what it is they do and do it a little bit better. So.
Thank you. All right. I do have one last question, actually, for Mr. Legg and Ms. Ward Black. It's been, as school board members, I know all of us have gotten emails, calls from parents who've been concerned about bullying behavior, threats that are made, but our authority as a school board is often ends there on school grounds. And so our hands are often tied in terms of our ability to take action or try to protect students for actions that occur through social media off-site. But I know that one of the things that we looked at in contemplation of this lawsuit has been, do we have a chance for success? And originally, I know that there were questions about whether or not these companies could claim that federal law shields them from lawsuits. And the argument was that, well, they're a carrier. So just like you wouldn't sue the phone company for someone calling in a bomb threat, you shouldn't be able to sue them. I know there's been some developments on that case. To me, it seems like rather than carriers, these are more publishers, archivists, and even promoters of the content, particularly with these algorithms that we're seeing. What is your prediction or what assurance can you give us in terms of, is this a case that can move forward?
We are here because we believe it's the right thing to do, and that sometimes you just have to stand up. We certainly cannot guarantee any kind of results, but we think inaction is not the way for school boards to behave in this instance. We think it helps. We think the mass of school boards across the United States will make a difference, that their voices will be heard, and we would like for Wake to be one of those voices.
So if there's no other comments, I believe I heard a motion from Mr. Hershey.
You have a motion from
And I
me.
believe I heard the projection of a second from Mr. Swanson. All right, so we do have a motion on the table for the Wake County Public School System to join in the potential lawsuit against social media companies for the company's role in the youth mental health crisis. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We are excited and encouraged, and we'll be in touch about next steps on how to proceed. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. If I may have one last word.
You may.
We just thank you. We thank you for the opportunity, because people do listen to Wake County, and we will do the very best we possibly can for you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll return to our action items. We do have another action item under grant proposals. We have our Chief of Staff, Dr. Clinton Robinson, or his designee, to present to us. Looks like Ms. DeFore is with us. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Chair Haggerty,
Thank you.
Vice Chair Johnson-Hostler, Superintendent Taylor, and members of the board. Policy 8440 states that district staff may submit grant applications for funding opportunities that have been approved by the Board of Education during the current fiscal year and that align with the district's strategic directives. Staff that are interested in applying for a grant submit an intent to apply form to the grants office, and the opportunity is reviewed to ensure eligibility and that the opportunity aligns to district priorities and guidelines. It is then presented to the board for approval. The grants office has received 3 intent to apply forms from schools requesting permission to apply to We Need Diverse Books, and we are now bringing this opportunity to the board for approval. We Need Diverse Books is a 501c3 organization that was founded by marginalized authors and strives to diversify the publishing industry and make bookshelves more equitable, all to promote literacy, build empathy, and reduce bias. They advocate for essential changes in the publishing industry to produce and promote literature that reflects and honors the lives of all young people. Their mission is putting more books featuring diverse characters into the hands of all readers. Their Educators Making a Difference grant provides up to $2,000 for K-12 schools to purchase books featuring diverse characters or written by diverse authors. The grant can also be used to conduct diversity audits of book collections and provide funding for student or community events. Staff are requesting board approval of this grant opportunity.
All right, thank you, Mr. Four. So this item had been on our agenda for our last meeting on the consent agenda, and we had a board member request to move it to action, and staff had not prepared all of the information which was available to us today. So now we've heard the staff presentation on the grant. Are there any questions for staff? Ms. Mahaffey.
Chair Hagerty, I make a motion that we approve the grant.
We have a motion from Ms. Mahaffey and a second from Ms. Edmonds. Is there any questions for staff? Ms. Caulfield.
So I do have questions. I did submit it, and I just wanted to basically explain. I know that in the title it says we need diverse books. I agree 100% that we need to have diverse books. Our students need to see themselves represented. That was not my intent. That had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to know what was behind the grant. And when you look at the three companies that actually provide the money to them in their websites and in their financials, when you follow all this through, what they stand for, there were some things in there that had nothing to do with cultural experiences that we were talking about, but it got into what were some of the words that they used. I'm sorry? Reproductive health, where they talked about abortions and birth control. And that was really where my concern came in. And if you look at the financials and how it's broken down, when they give out their grants, they give out anywhere from a couple $1,000s to $10,000 up to $100,000, even some up to $200,000. But they give $5 million to the gender and it's collaborative for gender and reproductive equity. $5 million each and every year. That is the majority of where the money is, and all throughout each and every website, right to the We Need Diverse Books, they all say that they're looking for people who are going to take the money to follow through with grants that represent what they want. And that's where my concern was. It has nothing to do with diversity and culture. I think we do need that. I think we need it all throughout our schools. That was not the subject matter. So I don't think that we should be having things like this in our schools or in our curriculum or a media center. This is not something that it stands for. And we had the Parents' Bill of Rights come in. We spent many months trying to redo a lot of the verbiage in our policies stating that we will not do that. And it's K through 12. So I just don't know how we would separate that, and how we don't have a grant that spells everything out. It's just a cover page. So it doesn't say it's only going to be for this. We don't have that. So therefore, I'm not comfortable approving it. So I just wanted to explain where that was coming from.
Thank you, Ms. Caulfield. Mr. Swanson?
Thank you so much. And I was not able to be here at the last meeting when this was brought forth, and I believe someone, which I don't see in the audience today, but hopefully they're paying attention, had talked about the abstract that was associated with this, and that it was like 50 words per se, which is the purpose of an abstract. It's a very brief summary of what you're looking for, and if it doesn't fit your needs, you don't read it. And I'm also grateful to see that this aligns with the strategic plan. Priority 1, which this board did approve back in May. So thank you for lifting that up. And also the last thing that I want to say about this is, we talk about supporting teachers, and we talk about the need of keeping teachers from going into their pockets. And yet when teachers decide to follow the process, apply for a grant, go through the appropriate measures, and also may point out that your staff is not that big to go through and dig all through this. So I'm grateful for you and your staff for doing this. I'm offended as a former teacher that, for this district, that we have folks who don't quite understand the nuances of goes on with this. So we can't say that we're supporting teachers on one hand and then try to slap teachers' hands for actually applying and doing their due diligence and finding grants that meets the needs of their students and their classrooms. And so I'm sure if we dig through every money that comes through there, we may or may not agree with that, but that's not the point. The purpose of this is to ensure that students are able to see themselves in the windows and doors and sliding doors that our speaker mentioned today. So I look forward to supporting this, and I also thank you for making sure that this aligns with our strategic plan. And lastly, since the Parental Bill of Rights was mentioned, I don't believe, Dr. Taylor, that anyone in this department and this staff would ever bring a piece of action to this board that directly violates the Parental Bill of Rights. Since we did spend all of last year looking at our former policy chair, making sure that our policies align. So I trust our staff, I trust the integrity of this staff, and I know for a fact that nothing would come before us that would violate the Constitution, that would violate the laws, and would put us in jeopardy. So I look forward to supporting this.
All right. Are there other questions or comments? I see two. Dr. Ng and Ms. Edmonds.
Just a question first. You said that 3 have already applied. Are they what?
No, so 3 schools have gotten in touch with the grants office and indicated their interest in applying, and then we are bringing this to the board for board approval before they would submit an application. And no applications have been submitted this year.
And you don't have to name the names of the schools, but what level are they at?
There are 3 elementary schools.
Okay, so my contention is that we have policies in which we are following the Parents' Bill of Rights and not to discuss gender identity and whatnot under the 4th grade. And having the books allowing the books to be in the library, although, you may not say that it's a direct connection to having a discussion, it makes me worried that how is that, how are you going to safeguard this not having the discussion and being compliant with the Parents' Bill of Rights? So, I will, I celebrate diversity, okay? I mean, I want to have, people see themselves in the books and, but I also want to see the kids also read books that they can identify historical legacy. I mean, I brought books myself from my own library, Harriet Tubman, okay, Abraham Lincoln, Clarence Thomas. I mean, these are people that we can emulate. We don't have, it's not just, seeing yourself in the books, but also emulating people who have, heroes, served the country, who have contributed to this nation. So I think that having them in the elementary school level makes me concerned. I'm fine with, following the parents the policy that is to allow it for junior high and high school, but in elementary school, I have a problem with that.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. Ms. Edmonds.
Thank you. So I have not looked at all of We Need Diverse Books financials, but I did follow the links that you sent us today. And in a 2021 tax report, there were 7 organizations that gave money to them. One of those is Action Family Giving. Action Family Giving, not We Need Diverse Books, gives money to I forget their full name, but it's an organization that supports reproductive health and gender autonomy. I might be getting anyway, that's Action Family Giving, not We Need Diverse Books. The public does not need to perceive that We Need Diverse Books organization is funding the reproductive health issues. Yes, thank you. So the other, 6 organizations are listed, and that's just from 2021 because that's the only link that I was provided. And I didn't have time today to go look at since their inception of the funding that they receive. This is this manufactured hysteria about who people choose to have sex with, when also what these books will include are kids with disabilities, kids that come from all different kinds of families, kids that have all different kinds of life experiences. That's diverse books. It's not just about things regarding sex. And whether or not anybody in this room that was here earlier or is watching this likes it or not, we have got kids in our district today that have come from all kinds of backgrounds, have all kinds of life experiences, and yes, we need to put books in front of them where they can see themselves. And how do we ensure that these other topics that are covered in SB 49 won't be discussed? Because our teachers are professionals, and we have a board policy that restricts them from doing so. There's state law that restricts them from doing so. I trust them, and I trust their administrators to make sure they're complying.
Thank you, Ms. Edmonds. Mr. Hershey?
So generally speaking, if somebody wants to bring something off consent, I'm going to vote for it, and I'm just fine with that. But I don't understand what we're doing here. This is $2,000, and we're worried about where the organization that we're applying for the grant is getting their money from. Do we really want to start creating a situation where we are digging in and investigating the background of every single person who makes a donation to this school system? Because I don't, because I know I don't agree with everyone who makes donations. That's okay. It doesn't need to be exactly what you agree with. I mean, goodness gracious, how are we not trusting the teachers with this? I mean, this is offensive to me that this was brought off. No, you did it, so you can own it. And you brought this off about $2,000. For whose agenda are you doing this for? Because I don't understand why we're having this conversation. We need diverse books. Teachers are going to apply for this grant. It's $2,000. I'm sorry, I just don't understand why we're wasting our time with this. And to me, it is absolutely a waste of our time.
We do have, no, I understand that we have strong opinions on this, and we have several people around the table that either haven't spoken or would like to say something. Because that was a comment directed at you, Ms. Caulfield, before we go to everybody else, if you did want to respond, I'd call on you now, but I do want to get to people who have not spoken yet.
Well, first of all, I think when we're talking about our students, I don't care what the dollar amount is. I think the subject matter, when you're, and it's not very layered. I mean, that literally took me 3 seconds to click on something that took us to financials. And when somebody is where you're getting your money from, it is attached to your agenda, and it says it all over the website. That's very clear in their own words. They are giving money to people who support and align with what they want. They say it on their website. So this isn't like something that is absolutely crazy. I don't think we should have books about that talk about anything having to do with abortion or any kind of birth control. Those are not things that we should be talking about. I'm not talking about diversity. I'm not talking about people that, come from different cultures and stuff. I've already said right from the beginning that those are things I absolutely agree with. I'm talking about subject matter, and that doesn't have a dollar amount. I want to know what it is that we are trying to put in front of our children. Why do we keep pushing these agendas instead of focusing on educational things? It is an agenda. No, it is not my agenda. I'm trying to leave it out.
Excuse me, Ms. Caulfield, 1 second. What, Mr. Hershey, please. Mr. Hershey, I will allow everyone to speak and express their viewpoint, but I will not allow members to interrupt each other, okay? So let's just all be clear about that, all right? And if we'll continue with the discussion, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Ms. Caulfield, would you like to continue your remark?
Yes. From one of these organizations that do fund and supply all the money to them, I'm going to read a quote about what it is that they said and I moved my screen around so I can't read it. I'm trying to find it, but it's from the random publish reading, whatever it is. And they basically speak about the fact that what we're putting in front of our children is very important and that it is very impressionable. I can't find the quote right now because I moved my screen around too many times. But that was one thing that really hit me, is that these companies that are actually supporting this and part of this program, they're the ones that are actually even saying that everything that we put in front of our children is very impressionable. So for me, it is very much about the children. And I don't think that this is something that is really off the wall for me to say that I don't think certain subject matter should be in front of our young children. And you stated that the people who are requesting this are elementary school kids. So whether it be in the classroom or whether it be in the library, yeah, we may have, rules that they can't see something from kindergarten to fourth grade, but who's to say that if it's in that library that those kids are not picking it up? It's just like the same thing with all of these, with the lawsuit that we just spoke about. It's being put in front of the children, and they don't necessarily have the brain power, I'm at a loss for words right now, to actually look away and turn it off and say this is not the right thing. Of course, their curious minds are going to look for it. So I just would like us to be a little bit more purposeful about what we put in front of our children. That's all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Four,
Yes.
are you able to tell us, do any of these books have anything to do at all with reproductive health?
No, sir, they do not.
Thank you.
And that was my question from the very start.
And so
That was my question.
I just want to caution us that sometimes there's a simple question and a simple answer, and sometimes we can arrive at that point without a lot more.
And I feel like I'm being attacked, but I just want to say it did actually start with an inquiry about what are the expectations when we receive a grant, what are the requirements that from us, and what are they expecting if we accept this grant? That's what my first and initial question was. So it turning into this was I did not get an answer to that question. I got a lot of information, so I do appreciate that, but it was not, we will not take a grant that will accept books of that nature. It was never said.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Caulfield. Mr. Swanson?
I was moving, I was calling for the question.
All right. Before we, did anyone, Ms. Mahaffey has been waiting patiently. I would like to allow her to speak, and then I'll entertain your motion. Thank you, Mr. Swanson.
As the only board member at this table that taught at the elementary level who had a classroom library, it's really hard to stock your classroom library. It's really hard to get funding for your classroom library. It is something that comes mostly out of your own pocket, mostly through going through bargain bins and finding books that seem okay, or that folks have donated, where the covers are slightly ripped and where the spines are torn. Sometimes you're trying to glue things back, and sometimes you're having to say goodbye to a book because a student looking at it just wouldn't feel very respected regardless of the content inside of the book, just because the book looks like trash. If this had been available when I was teaching, to get $2,000 for the opportunity to potentially restock my classroom library, or to work as a grade level team to restock a set of classroom libraries, I would jump at the chance. I wouldn't take the time to look and see who was funding the project, because it was money for books, for diverse books. The submission guidelines are your name, any legal names you've had. I learned to do that, so your address, your email, your phone number, a brief statement explaining how you intend to use the grant money to further diversity teaching in the classroom. When you show a student for the first time a book where someone on that book cover looks like them, it is a magical thing. And believe it or not, in this day and age, that still happens for the very first time. I found a book for our previous superintendent when we were talking about Wake Up and Read, and it had a family that was Hispanic. And in the back of the book, it had a recipe that her mother used to use. It was an Ecuadorian recipe, and to see our former superintendent see a home recipe that she recognized that her mama used to make for her at her age was powerful. So I'm happy to support this. I trust our teachers, I trust our folks and our staff to help our teachers go through this to make sure that this will be all within the legal rights, but to be able to do this, I'm not going to deny it on the front end just because of what might happen on the back end. And I would love to call the question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So with a joint motion to call the question from Mr. Swanson and Ms. Mahaffey, we will now take a vote. All in favor of granting approval for the described grant, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. By the vote, I believe the ayes have it. It is carried. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I've been informed by our board attorney, Mr. Malone, that while we did have a motion to vote to join the social media litigation, we need a little more specificity in terms of the actual retainer agreement. So it would be nice for them to engage in this litigation, but I think it's going to be asking an awful lot for them to do it without approval of the retainer agreement. So
Move to approve the retainer agreement, so present it to us.
thank you,
Second.
Mr. Hershey. Motion by Mr. Hershey, a second by Ms. Mahaffey. All in favor of approval of the retainer agreement that had been shared with you, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. I believe that concludes our action agenda. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
For the statutory reasons cited in the précis. Motion by Mr. Hershey, second by Mr. Swanson. All in favor of moving to closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We are now in closed session. We'll give everyone a moment to clear the room. Thank you.